Yep.
Hello and welcome to the pod of the... What? Why would you ruin the intro like that, Nico?
I didn't mean to. It's just, I didn't think you heard me because you were very quiet, and it
Jesus
stopped.
fucking Christ. Yet another intro ruined.
Yeah.
Yes,
My
anyway.
job here is done. I'll see you later. I'm on holiday.
You're not getting out of speaking about this movie that easily. I ken your game, Nico. Hello and welcome to the Pod of the Damned. I'm your host, Ian, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Nico. How's it going, buddy?
I feel slightly drained after watching this.
Drained, mentally, or your ballsack?
I did not have a cheeky wank to fucking Winnie the Pooh. Blood and honey.
There's plenty to wank over.
Saying that, like, what the fuck is with this movie?
We'll get to it. We'll save it, Nico. Save it for the main discussion. In case you are unaware, this is episode number 88, and in today's show, I'm gonna utter so many words to so much sentences today that I never ever thought I would ever say in my life. But in today's show, we are discussing Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. If you would like to support us across the social media sites, you can do so. We're on X, which is at Pod of the Damned. We're on Facebook and Instagram, which is also at Pod of the Damned. You can subscribe.
You said it right. You said X.
I said X, yes, but you know what? I said X and it's just baffled the shit out of me because now I don't know how to flow the rest of it. You can email us at podofthedamned@gmail.com, and you can subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/podofthedamned. If you are watching this episode live, like people like Boomer, who's just said hello in the chat. Hello, Boomer. How are you doing? Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, you can tune in every single week. We normally record our episodes on Sundays. This week's been a bit of a mishmash because we've been catching up and trying to get ahead. Because, Nico, sadly, you're not going to be here next week.
Yes, unfortunately, I'll be in Czech Republic.
You'll be in the Czech Republic. But we will be. We have already got your replacement lined up for next week. Anna, who was on our Insidious episode, will be joining us. She's just said hello in the chat as well. She'll be joining us next week, and we will tell you all about the movie that we will be talking about at the end of the show. Nico, we'll do the predictions now before we get into the movie chat. Do you think this episode's gonna break the top 10?
I'm hoping it breaks the bottom 10.
Where do you think Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey... I actually can't even finish a sentence with it, honestly. I don't know how I'm going to get through this episode. Where do you...
It's going to be bottom 10. I think it's going to be bottom 10.
But what kind of score do you think it's going to get?
Fuck knows, because, honestly, what the fuck? This is like a child story meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets Just Get Your Tits Suit.
Oh, Anna's came into the chat. She already has got it down. She's saying gives it a 2. She's given it a 2 out of 10. She hated it.
Right.
A 2 out of 10 would put it in a 83rd place. No? 83rd place? Yeah? Yeah, 80... No. I'm confusing myself. 82nd place, sorry. 82nd place.
So what are the bottom 10 again?
Right, so as it stands, you've got, at the bottom, you've got Troll 2, which has a 1.7. You've got Lost Boys, The Tribe, with a 1.9. Attack of the Herbals, with a 2.2. You've got Long Time Dead, with a 3.8. And you've got Halloween 3 rounding out the bottom 5 with a 4. And you've got The Human Centipede, Innocent Blood, Zombievers, Hubie Halloween, and Cockneys vs. Zombies. That's our current bottom 10.
I reckon it'll be round about Human Centipede.
Okay, so that Human Centipede got a 4. You're saying this is going to get about a 4.
About a 4 or a 5.
A 4 or a 5. Yeah, so that would put it in...
I'll split it different. It's 4.5.
Okay, so that would put it in 78th place.
78. Okay.
Out of 84.
Yeah. I'll go for that.
Boomer's coming in predicting that it's going to be 3rd from the bottom. It would have to score at least It would have to be so I would have to be a 2 or a 2.1 for it to be third from bottom. So, but anyways, shall we just get started and talk about the movie this week?
Yeah. Right,
Oh.
let's start with things we liked about it first.
Okay, right. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, right.
Right, we are talking all about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. This movie was released in 2023, was written by, and I can't believe I'm a way to say this, it's written by Rhys Frake Waterfield and A.A. Milne, and is directed by Rhys Frake Waterfield, and stars Nikolai Leon, Maria Taylor, and Natasha Rose Mills. The IMDb plot is as follows. After Christopher Robin abandons them for college, Pooh and Piglet honestly, this is going to be like the most unprofessional.
Pooh and Piglet eat Eeyore and they go mental.
Pooh and Piglet embark on a bloody rampage as they search for a new source of food. Okay, right, Nico, actually, you know what? And Boomer's just brought it up because that was my positive. Let's start with our positives. I thought the opening credits were kind of cool.
I like the opening credits and I like the Pooh mask. That's it.
You like the Pooh mask?
Aye.
You actually like the Pooh mask?
I like the bit. Remember the bit? Fucking is it at the start or in the middle? I can't even mind when it is. When it's dripping honey out its boo, I'm like, that's quite creepy. I like that.
Oh no.
It's only once I liked it, but that was it. The rest of it was just like...
How many times was it just so obvious that he was just like wearing marigolds?
Aye.
You're just like, oh no. No, honestly, I see when that the opening credits happened, I was like, oh, you know what? Like, maybe I'm gonna enjoy this.
I saw the opening credits and I'm like, I'm gonna like this. I'm really gonna like this. And then I quickly realised I was wrong. Like, see if they'd just done it like that, the whole movie like that, it would have been amazing.
What, just like the animation?
Yeah.
Yeah, no live action, just animation.
It's like, see from their start, when they go from fat bastards to, like, you can play a xylophone. I was like, this is quite cool. And then, nah.
Yeah.
Like, the first death is shit. In fact, every death is shit. Apart from the miraculous tits coming out.
Okay. Right. You're literally running through all the points right now, so hold your brakes, because otherwise this episode's going to be over in about 4 minutes.
Fingers crossed.
But, so that's your only positive is the opening credits?
Only positive is opening credits, and I like the Pooh mask once.
You liked it once, okay. Newman says, I'll give it 1 arsenic out of 10, as in I'd rather drink arsenic than watch this movie. Yeah, there's not a lot of fans of this movie out there. You know what, like... Right, okay, we've had this debate multiple times, Nico. Is this so bad it's good?
No, it's just bad. Like, how has this got a second one? That's all I was thinking.
Well, I'm going to talk to you about that, because you know what? For the budget of this film made bank.
Really?
Yeah, compared to its budget, this film made amazing money. I'll go through it, because the trivia, I might just abandon the trivia section for this week, because I've so little trivia. This movie had $100,000 budget. So this movie was, like, you have to still appreciate that this movie was made for fuck all money. It was made for no money.
It basically looks like they went and got a heap of strippers to do a movie chased by Winnie the Pooh and Eeyore.
They weren't chased by Eeyore, actually.
No, sorry, fucking Piglet. Sorry. They ate Eeyore, I keep forgetting. Fucking hell.
Are those sentences that you'd ever thought you'd say?
I never thought I'd ever say. And, like, genuinely, Pooh and Piglet went mental because they ate Eeyore. They
didn't go mental. Well, they kind of did go mental because they ate Eeyore, didn't they?
It even says that, and that's the whole thing at the start. It's like
because they didn't go mental because Christopher Robin left them. They went mental because they were starving and had to eat Eeyore. But also,
Pooh decided it as well. Fat bastard.
I know, right?
He did it because you lose the most weight.
He literally. Piglet's a fucking pig. They're the tastiest of animals.
I'd be
Campy's.
like, well, mate, they've got rabbits there.
I'm sure owl tastes perfectly nice. I've never had owl.
Well, we've already established who are the two finest animals would be rabbit and pig.
Not.
And they go, I'm gonna eat the donkey.
Campy's just came into the chat saying, I enjoyed this film.
Why? Tell us why.
I think, right, I think this film has this so bad it's good factor.
Yeah.
I would... Listen, this film is fucking trash. This is a pile of fucking shit. But you know what? I think I'd watch it again.
You just watch it for the tit suit, because there's tit suits.
Well, no! Right, okay, no. Okay, because me and Anna were talking about this when we watched it, right? And well, let's talk about first, right? We'll get into that. So let's first talk about that scene, right? There's a kill in this movie, and I'm not even going to try and attempt to remember what any of the characters are named outside of Christopher outside of Christopher Robin, Pooh, and Piglet, because they're so they're so forgettable. The performances.
They just went to the local strip club and got a heap of strippers.
But there's a death scene, and I think it's one of the first ones, aside from Christopher Robin's fiance.
It's the very next one after that.
It's the first of your sort of main group, and Pooh is kind of. I honestly can't believe I'm saying this. Pooh is kind of like tussling with her, and then randomly her top just disappears.
Yeah, because it's like she's already taken it off her head when she's met him, type thing. It's fucking weird.
But you'd like, right, but it's not even like a really obvious, oh, he's like torn it off or it, but it's like, you know that scene in Bruce Almighty where he just like goes like this and his clothes just come off?
Oh!
That's what it's like.
Yeah, it's like they've cut the back of it so it just gets pulled off. Like, it's so fucking weird.
And so then a little bit later on, there's that scene with the girl taking thirst traps in the jacuzzi.
Yeah, and Piglet fucking chloroforms her.
And then
that's an air phrase I never thought I'd say. Piglet chloroforms the girl in the jacuzzi.
And then they like hog tie her. You know what? Actually, I quite like that.
The way to lift her out of the tub? Like, it's like, look, you could have seen Vaj if we had the fucking did it this way. Like, they open her legs to lift her out. It's
so, anyways, at that point, me and Anna took a bet of how many of the girls' tits we would see between then and the end of the film.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who said what, but one of us said 2 and one of us said 4. And I think we were both, to be honest, even Anna was pretty disappointed that the answer was actually 0.
Yeah, true. But still.
Well, no, because this is the thing, right? This is like your sort of, I don't even want to say grindhouse style, because there's a discussion to be had around that as well. But this is your.
Let's go back to the jacuzzi chick, though. Right?
Okay.
Before we go further, right?
Okay, Nico. Not done with her, are you?
You know the hog tie-in scene where she's like basically hog tied, and then they drive over her fucking dome.
I quite like that kill, to be honest.
But why is Piglet hunting her down? Like, if she's hog tied, he doesn't need to.
Question. How does either Pooh or Piglet know how to drive?
I know! That was the other one I was just waiting to get to, but you beat me to it.
Oh, do you think...
That bit as well, when he's in the car and it's just the smile with the red light flashing at him. It's just fucking weird.
Yeah, but I like... See bits like that. That's the sort of bits I think, right, okay, there's maybe a little bit of like artistic merit in this.
No.
I think that's like just a smidgen of a possible redemption. Do you think though this would have been a better movie, like, had they just leaned into like the tits and arse factor?
Probably.
Like, I think, and obviously I can't speak for women, but I think even women would have probably enjoyed this movie more had they gone, because the movie takes itself so seriously. I don't understand why they didn't go full on camp with this.
Yes.
Like, that's really the biggest criticism you can have of this movie, because it was made, right, on a shoestring budget, right? So you can forgive, you know, some janky effects. You can forgive costuming not being fucking fantastic. You can forgive so much knowing how little they made this money for. But what you can't forgive it for is the tone that it's tried to set. And I think if they'd gone just like full camp, full cheese, lent into the comedy, lent into the tits and ass, let in, like, there's such a place for that kind of film in horror. And I think this film would be not loved, because it would still be a pile of shit, but I think there'd be so much more like credit in the bank, if you will, for lack of a better term, for this movie than there actually is.
Like, I get what you're saying, but genuinely, like, see the premise at the start. I genuinely thought this has got to be brilliant. I'm gonna be
brilliant.
So, because when I heard this happen, brilliant. Like, when I heard this was happening, I'm like, this has got to be absolutely gosh. This is going to be one of the worst movies ever. And then that bit at the start tricks you into thinking this has got to be good, right? So you're basically watching it, and all the way through, you're like, why? Just why? Like, stick with it. You did well, and do that, or go balls to the wall and stupid. Don't try and be fucking serious at that point.
Yeah, that for me is like the biggest thing. They really they really should have went so much more into the campy laughing factor. Like, not doing that was a huge misstep in this movie, because, you know, there's going to be people out there like us who just saying some of these sentences is enough to crack us up and make us laugh, you know. And for so many people, they're going to be watching this movie just being like, what the fuck am I watching? So fucking lean into that and go full balls to the wall. It just feels like they really held back. And that's a big mistake. Just catching up on the chat. Boomer says the premise is decent, but the execution was not great. It should have been a creature feature. So yeah, that's. He also goes on to say,
pretty much what I said.
Yeah, he goes on to say, I got to see this in the theater with a raucous crowd. That made it a little more fun. At home alone would have scored lower. So maybe enjoying that thought of theater experience. Although, would you want to pay money to go see this, Nico?
Fuck no.
Anna in the chat.
Do you not ask for a refund?
Anna in the chat says he did pull her top off because we went back to see what happened. We did look at that, but even still, like, I'm assuming that's obviously like what they were.
The head is already out of the top, and you can see they've basically got the top here.
Yeah, I think what I think's happened is they've meant to make it look like he's just ripped it off her, and they've put it like over her head. So that, and tried to maybe like to make it easier and potentially hide it. But what ends up happening is it just looks like the top vanishes.
It's pretty much one of those bits where the editing was bad at that point, where they've just went, right, tits on, covered, tits off, out.
Tits on, tits off.
Aye. Mr. Miyagi, tits on, tits out, tits in, tits out.
Right. So I mentioned sort of grindhouse style horror movies, because this movie has been compared and sort of categorized along with movies like Terrifier, and as being that sort of really low budget horror movies made for like $100K or less, but are gone on to be like big fandoms and big successes. And if you look at this movie like financially, like I said, budget $100,000. This movie's grossed almost $5 million.
Why?
So, in answer to your previous question, Nico, that's why there's a sequel.
I get that's why there's a sequel. Why? Like, let's take for example the part with the pool.
The pool, okay.
Right. So, if she's in a pool and he's throwing out a bitty at her, and then he gives up with that and just walks in and fucking kills her. You're like, that's just stretched out and gosh. The gosh counter will be high in this because it's a gosh movie.
Yes.
Actually, surprised there was no gosh on show.
I don't believe that that's something that happens very often in non-porn movies, Nico.
I know, but you know what I mean. It's just like it reminds me of those cheesy. It reminds me of those 80s movies we were talking about, the cheesy, horrid ones. Where it was like, but at least they leaned into the comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
At
that's
least they
it.
knew they were bad movies.
Yeah, that's it. Like, and sh- this is one of those things, though, right? You know, like when you review something like, I don't know, like Birdemic, for example, right? They know what they're making. They lean into
Yeah,
what they're making. They're purposefully making it the way it is, right? So
yeah,
you can sit there and you can rag on that movie and shit all over that movie because that's what they're going for. Do
yeah.
you think they thought they were making something really good?
Fuck knows, because it's just fucking weird.
But that's what I'm saying. Had they lent into the comedy and had they gone for that sort of campy factor, then I would have gone, you know what, right? They knew what they were making. They knew they were making something that's going to be fucking wild and weird, but they've lent into it. They've gone with it, like, fair play. They've made a decent effort. And then you could probably sit there at that point and go, what, yeah, you know what? This is so bad, it's good.
Well,
Right? But it's the fact that
it's
they've went serious with it. I think they
yeah.
thought they were making that. I thought they thought they were doing something here and making like a cinematic fucking masterpiece.
Aye. They're like they've went right. We're gonna mock the next big franchise. It's gotta be the next big Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But what we're gonna do is basically rip off every single one of those movies and just basically add Pooh and Piglet into it. That's it.
Yeah.
Instead of a family, instead of a fucking rednecks, we're gonna hate for it's basically just these half breeds as they're called.
Hmm.
And it's just awful. Like they genuinely do think it's a good movie. You can tell by the way they're acting and everything. Like that that one in the pool that I was saying about, where he's flicking the chain in the water so much times, and then they slow it down the fucking sledgehammer in the face when he finally gees up to try to hit her with a chain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the thing. He swaps it. He swaps the fucking chain for the sledgehammer. The worst part is the pool. You could fucking reach the sledgehammer to the other side of the pool if you really tried. It's the tiniest.
It's
Like the
such a
guy's
narrow
standing.
pool, isn't it?
I know he's standing in the middle of it like that with the sledgehammer, and he looks like he just missed the side. You know what I mean? You're like it's fucking awful.
Right, I'm gonna have a wee checkpoint here, Nico. Right, whilst we're like halfway through this episode, are you okay?
No, this film disturbed me in a way that I cannot fucking ever. Like that was a waste of my life watching this movie. I'm upset.
Boomer in the chat says he's got a monthly pass for the cinema, so
Glad you never paid for it, mate. Because I'd be demanding a refund again. What the fuck was that shit?
He also says he thinks they missed the tone they should have had, but it's obvious the tone they should have had, but it's obvious they tried and just made a bad movie. I don't think they thought it was a good, but they made it the best they could with what little talent they had. Well, let's talk about the acting and the actresses in this movie, because I sort of looked everyone up individually, and you know it's bad when on IMDb half of their profiles say this actress is famous for her role in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And it's like, is she? Is she? The director of this movie also released another movie this year, and I think it was called Firenado.
What
Firenado.
is that the new Sharknado thing?
I mean, there's about 6 billion.
It's gonna rip it off, is it?
There's about 5 billion different varieties of, Sharknado, Catnado, Waspnado.
There's a alligator one or crocodile one. I
Yeah,
can't remember
there's so many of that style of movies, but that's the
yeah.
sort of caliber of director that we're talking about here.
Is he doing the second one?
Oh, actually, you know what? That's a good point. I haven't actually looked up if he's going to be directing the second one or not. Which
Because I know the second one's gonna have Tigger in it.
yeah, well, I want to talk about that as well. I don't know why.
So I get they couldn't use Tigger
It
and
is
all the other.
it is the
but
same director, by the way, for the second one.
fuck's sake.
Yeah, so essentially, because I saw a lot of criticism about that being like, where's the other characters? And I know obviously they mentioned Owl and Eeyore, and
Yes.
they couldn't have Tigger in this movie. So basically, the whole point
He wasn't public domain yet.
so the whole point of this movie is that, you know, Winnie the Pooh, the story, A.A. Milne's book, has gone into the public domain, which meant that the intellectual properties could be used. However, the character of Tigger is not an intellectual property of the A.A. Milne book, it's an intellectual property of Disney, and because Tigger didn't debut until 1966, I think. Something like that. I could be slightly wrong with the dates there. He is still the intellectual property of Disney. Because of this as well, the characters' like appearances are still also intellectual property of Disney. So we can use the characters and we can use the storyline, but that's why the characters don't necessarily look like the characters that we all know and love from Disney.
It's Chucky all over again, is it?
No, because the difference between this and that is that Chucky was good, Nico.
That fuck off.
What would you rather watch, Nico? Child's Play remake, or Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey?
Fucking Doctor Sleep. Right?
No, you have to pick one. No, I want to hear you say it.
I've said it more than once. Piss off.
I'll say it again.
No.
What would you rather watch? Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, or Child's Play remake?
We can be here all night, just me saying though.
That's fine. We'll sit here. That's fine.
Okay.
Buckle in, listeners.
There we go, listeners. There's Sheeta by the way.
Oh, Nico's just got his pussy out on screen.
You're not allowed to say that.
I am.
So yeah. Back to the movie.
Yeah,
right?
So that's the reason though why we haven't got certain characters. That's the reason why the characters don't necessarily look the way they do, because obviously, like, you know, in the original Winnie the Pooh, Pooh's not a farmer.
No.
So just to explain that.
Yeah, it's like the thing confuses me in this as well is, right, the four of them are there, right, before they start killing them all. One of them magically appears with a gun. Why didn't they get the fucking gun in the first place?
Listen, the girls in this movie have about 15 different opportunities to just run away.
I know.
Like, I don't think we can, like, because we've talked about it, and, you know, there's still bits and pieces of this movie that we'll highlight, but I don't think we can apply logic to this movie.
No, that's the problem. I like a fucking proper movie where there's an actual story. This is just, let's get some characters and kill folk.
Yeah.
And not in a fun way. Like, you mentioned Terrifier. Terrifier is pretty much that. You get fucking Art the Clown, kill a couple of folk. It's actually quite fun. This is not. I
mean, there's a big chunk of people out there who would completely disagree with you on the Terrifier fact, as you well know from when we covered it.
Yeah.
But that's going back to my earlier point. You know, people have been putting these sorts of movies, lumping them together into the same sort of subgenre, and I think that's a bit unfair on movies like Terrifier to be compared. Because again, if you look at Terrifier, that movie was made for like $20,000. Like, that was made for even less money than this.
It's a hell of a lot better than
this movie. And I think, yeah, and again, don't get me wrong, you can look at a few different bits and pieces of the special effects in that movie and go, you know, that's not great, or the script or whatever, but that movie's turned out a hell of a lot fucking better than this one did.
Do you know what annoys me probably the most in this movie?
Yeah.
The stupid, you know how anytime they come across a character tied up, instead of starting to untie them, they either look like they're going to try and fuck him, or look like they're going to try and make a conversation with the two girls. Because that's basically what it's like. Because when they're sneaking up to Christopher, they've got that come to bed look on their face. You're like, that's just fucking weird. And when it's the girls tied up, they're walking up to them like, well, how did you get yourself in this predicament? How did you do that? What happened to you? Give us your backstory since fucking birth, and then we'll untie you.
Well, do you think, because this movie's got a relatively short runtime, thankfully, do you think they were just padding for time?
Yes, lots.
I think they had virtually no script, and
Blatantly obvious.
just needed to pad for time. Going back as well to our earlier point, we talked about. Do you really think this movie would have been better had we had a killer Tigger in it as well?
Yes, because the wonderful thing about Tiggers is Tigger's a wonderful thing.
Oh, I knew you were gonna say that. I as soon as I asked the question, I knew that's what you were gonna say. No, but in all seriousness, would it have been because not just Tigger? I know they said they ate Eeyore, but if we had the whole gang, do you think we like that might have added to just like the batshit crazy factor of this
Like,
film?
the thing is, you could have had funny moments with Eeyore, because he's a want to kill somebody, shit, my tail fell off, 2 seconds. It could have been funny like that.
Well, this is the other thing because they state at the beginning of the movie during the good part of the film that the Pooh and Piglet have vowed to never use their voices anymore again. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think this movie would have been better had they used their voices?
No, actually, I think it's better having them shut the fuck up, because the script is bad enough. Could you imagine Pooh and Piglet try to talk with a weird fucking accent or something? Because they think they're smart with this movie, so they'd have made it like a weird fucking accent or something. They'd have done something stupid like, "This is how bears talk." No, it's not.
See, the
Fuck off.
thing is, though, you're not like I would like if we wanted this to be a serious movie, which none of us did, right?
Yeah.
Then I would agree with you that like no, keep them silent, don't have them talk, and then what Boomer was saying as well, have it be more like a creature feature, and there's this like sight like this hulking sort of beasts in the wilderness. But
Yeah.
because we want this to go campy and lean into the fucking laughing factor, absolutely fucking have their voices, have them chatting fucking shit. Even if it's somebody who's trying to put on like the terrible fucking Pooh like I don't know, like I can't do a Pooh voice. Can you do a Pooh voice, Nico?
No, I'm not even trying.
No, I was kind of hoping you would. But like have someone put on that like the shitty fucking characters' voices and make it a fucking spectacle. Make that like your campy factor. I totally think they missed a massive trick because Pooh does. I can't even remember what is it he actually says when Christopher Robin's trying to like reason with him. Is it not just something like you left or something?
You went or you
You
left
went,
or
yeah,
something
something
like
like that. And like, the voice didn't sound overly impressive, to be honest.
that. I know.
But I think they should have spoke throughout the movie.
Well, see, I think they shouldn't have, because it could have been funnier. But on the flip side, anything could have made this better, to be honest, because it is just awful. Like, as you said about the script, I think there's a lot of pad in this. There's a lot of fucking, we'll span round this way, we'll do this,
Yeah,
we'll
but
do that.
you don't think they would have needed to
Because
do less of that if Pooh and Piglet talked?
well, that's what I mean. The script was bad enough. Could you imagine it with them as well? They'd have them saying weird shit and really bad stuff.
Really bad stuff, Nico.
Like, really, really bad stuff.
Like really bad stuff. Are we talking
Like, really.
Are we talking back to the tit scenes?
Yes.
Ah. Okay. Have you we got a bit of a rapey Pooh?
Could you imagine, like, if Pooh talked to her? Ooh, tit toot. You know, it would just be like, right?
Stop
It
it.
would make it even worse.
Ah.
Or Piglet walks in, oh, it's that kind of party with him grabbing her tit suit. You can't. It would just be like it's.
Piglet's like, better get my sausage.
Do you like bacon?
Bacon is good for you.
Pooh, you've got the honey out. What are we doing?
Sugar, honey, honey.
How did that come about?
Oh dear. Anyways, Anna says the acting was so bad. Christopher Robin's wife is getting killed, and all he can do is go, Piglet, No.
No.
If I was getting attacked and you did nothing, I'd come back and haunt you.
Like,
She said,
he's seen her there because it's his future wife. And he's basically went, oh, stop it, please.
"You're my friends."
Yeah. We played together for so long.
She also says, "We had to look up to figure out where they're supposed to be from because all the accents were." But yeah, this is obviously a British movie,
Yeah.
but and all the girls in this movie I think are British. The guy who plays Christopher Robin I think is supposed to be British, but it turns out he's actually like Ukrainian.
Okay.
But then you've got this sort of group of guys. And you've got like one British guy, one like proper Southern American guy. You've got an Aussie in there. Like,
Yeah,
what
was
the
that about?
fuck is like? So where? Is the original Winnie the Pooh set in England, or
I think so.
is the 100 Acre Wood in England?
I'm pretty sure it is.
So I'm assuming this is set in England.
Maybe, but yeah.
But it had so much like Americanisms in it.
Yeah.
Like
There's not a lot of British houses, that have got those big, massive hooks hanging from the rafters.
no,
You know what I mean?
and there's not a lot of like abandoned gas stations in Britain either.
Yeah. That look like they're out of American Pickers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not really a thing.
No, it's really not over
But
here.
I don't remember. The cars they were driving were right-hand drive cars.
Were they?
I think. So maybe? I don't fucking know. But anyways, we had to look it up and we still weren't convinced, I think.
Yeah.
Boomer says there's no way they could do the voices.
That's true. Disney would sue.
He just doesn't even think it's a point. Right, here's another here we go again. So in this movie, there's a few different scenes where they're looking at Pooh, and he's like like a swarm of bees around him.
Yeah.
Right? Which I get. He's a bear, honey, bees.
Yeah.
Like, I understand the link. I understand where they're going at with that. Why, though, would you show us that and at no point in this movie have someone be killed by bees?
Or at least the bees sting them.
Like,
you know what I mean?
What a waste. What a wasted opportunity that is.
I don't think they had the budget for it, to be honest.
Do you think that's what... Well, then I would rather they just didn't have the bees.
Exactly.
Like, don't have him swarm. You didn't need the bees to be more menacing. So just don't have the bees.
But he's not menacing either. Like, that smile thing could make him menacing as fuck. And if I saw that fucker come towards me, I'm like, I'm winning this fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if your bad guy is that fucking shite, like, genuinely, Piglet just looks like a rip-off of fucking the one from the Turtles. I've forgotten his name. What is it? Bebop or Rocksteady. He just looks like a rip-off of him. You know what I mean? So you're like, whoever I'm fighting in this, I'm coming off better. Like, I'm escaping this.
You know what? Like, I genuinely don't really have that much issues with the character design of Pooh. Like, it's bad.
Piglet is awful.
It's bad. It's not great. But again, it's one of those things I can kind of forgive a little bit because of the low budget. So it's all these talk of animals. She wants to get involved.
She's hungry. She hears rabbit. She likes rabbit.
Yeah. Like the low budget. Like I genuinely don't have that much issues with Pooh and his design. Like. That's fine, and I think it's like just creepy enough that it kind of works. Piglet's fucking horrendous. You're right.
Piglet is horrendous.
But you know, like I don't really mind the design of Pooh. But going back to what I was saying,
I sort of like the mask occasionally.
Yeah, but again, I would hate.
Look at the bit where it's the fight scene, the big fight scene where it's taking on those guys, right?
Right, okay, well actually, because I do want to mention something about that. Did you notice this? But Pooh grows by like 20 fucking feet.
Aye.
What is with it? Like, there's a giant, there's a giant poo.
No, right. So the guys are getting tooled up, right?
Uh-huh.
And the boy that hands him a crowbar looks scarier than Pooh does. You know what I mean? And he's not even looking that scary. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just fucking awful. Like I cannot stress enough. If you have not watched this movie, don't watch this movie.
You're really not a fan of this movie, are you?
Fucking hated it.
Oh
Like
dear.
this is meant to be a Pooh's a fucking hardy cunt. He's a want to take on four guys that are all tooled up. You look at all the four guys. One kick could wipe out all their legs because their legs are about that thick.
Okay, but like, so not only in this scene as well do you have Pooh become the BFG, essentially,
Aye.
but he also just like chops their faces off with his hand.
Aye.
I didn't.
What is that about?
I don't understand. Does he have like race? Is it supposed to be like his claws because he's a bear?
I'm guessing it's claws because he's a bear, but
But he has no claws at any other point of this movie. I mean,
exactly.
it's not. Right, I'm gonna say something really dumb here, right? Because obviously they're just men in suits, right?
Are they?
Exactly. But I feel like they've not really tried to give them any other like animalistic sort of tendencies other than their skin and their faces, and aside from that, they're just humans. Because they even they do kind of allude to it at some point that there's some sort of mutants or something, don't they?
Aye, they say they're half breeds. And he ignores the danger, so he started feeding them.
Yeah. So
Father fuck's been who did Christopher's da or these half brothers or something? Did Christopher's da start shagging animals? They got pregnant.
maybe a bit.
You know what I mean?
Maybe that's the sequel. A bit of bestiality.
Bit of bestiality, yeah.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, if it was a tiger, you'd understand it, because well, Tigger's a tiger. At least he'd like hay the claws.
Oh
you know
right,
what
okay. I thought you was a way to say that it's okay to fuck a tiger.
I mean? No. But you'd take some fucking set of balls to try and fuck a tiger.
I mean, you'd have to have some set of balls to try and fuck a bear.
Oh yeah, but have you not seen that one? What is it again? What the fuck's the name of the movie again?
I mean, David Cameron already.
Troopers.
David Cameron already fucked a pig.
Oh yeah. But Super Troopers, the fucking bit where he's at the fucking riverside minding in the bear suit. That's fucking brilliant. See, they could have done something like that. It would have been funny.
Oh dear. Right, let's keep going. I've got a couple more points.
But before we leave the fight scene,
Okay.
right, you go on about him chopping their faces off and chopping their hands off and all that shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he does all that with just his bare hands and he's fucking
Bare hands.
Stop with their face on. How pathetic is the boy at the window when he's missing half the face? But that was better acting.
I think
Fuck off.
I think we should do the remake. Yeah, the sequel, Nico.
I just stick you in a Pooh costume.
Yeah. I think we could do a better job. And as Boomer said last week when we revealed this episode, we should definitely call it Pooh number 2.
No,
that was so funny that it made you yawn.
Yeah, like this movie. I've got it on the background. I'm watching it. It's making me fucking yawn. That's how bad it is.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, we're laughing at things like Pooh number 2. We're laughing like these are the sorts like just be fucking dumb with this movie. Just be fucking stupid and go for the stupid fucking shit. Have fucking absolutely insane things. Have Pooh grow fucking 20 feet. We don't care, but like make it fucking crazy and fucking stupid. Put all the tits out there in the world. Like do whatever you need to do to make this film just be absolutely fucking bonkers. And instead,
See,
what they've done is made a really fucking dull, with a couple of decent ideas in there, because we like the opening
yeah.
scene. There is a couple of little things in there I don't mind, but again, they've went to think, oh, let's make this like serious and art house, and they've made it fucking shit and boring.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's the thing. Even if they just had a scene of fucking, you know how he grows larger before he takes one. If he'd nicked a bit of honey or something, then it would
Like
have made more sense.
like
You know
Popeye,
what I mean?
essentially.
Aye. Popeye the Sailor Man. But I'm Pooh Bear and I fucking can. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Something like that would be funny as fuck. But
Yeah, and then you could like have one of the girls be like an olive oil situation.
ah, but
Oh.
the bit where he's in the back of the truck as well. That's another thing, right? It's set in fucking Britain. Who
No
the
one,
fuck's got
no
a
one
pickup?
has, no one has pickup trucks.
Like, folk have got pickup trucks, but they've got the back bit fucking covered. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. Um,
Because we steal everything over
well,
here.
that's what I want to talk. I want to talk about as well, right? Because there's the moment in this film. What is with the whole stalker backstory that we get?
What?
Well, what's the relevance of it?
Fuck knows.
Because that is one of the big sort of plot points in this movie, is that our main final girl, our main character, I don't know how you would want to describe it. Like, is Christopher Robin our final boy? I don't fucking know. There, she goes into this whole backstory about how she was been stalked. Was that meant to be Piglet that stalked her?
I don't know.
But in like
Like,
human, but it was a human, right?
it was definitely a human, but it was fucking weird. So then, is that the case that can become human? You know what I mean?
Well, there you go. But also, if it's not anything related to Pooh and Piglet, I don't really understand why we're told that aspect of her backstory, because I don't see the relevance.
Yeah. It's oh. I don't get it. I don't want to get it. See, that's the thing, right? Normally, I'm like, I want to find out more in movies. I want fuck all to do with this piece of shit.
We'll just wait until we cover Winnie the Pooh 2.
Thing is, could you imagine if that's actually good?
Yeah, they're just like, we're just fucking pulling your leg, and we've actually gone and made a fucking fire sequel.
The reason that the first one was so shit is because the second one is going to be fucking epic.
they've got fucking, I don't know, like Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds playing Pooh and Piglet. Wow, that's the thing. Piglet.
No, right. Ryan Reynolds would be Owl. Rob McFucking whatever his name is.
McElhenney.
Aye, he could be Eeyore. He got 8 at the start, looking at a flashback.
That would be a much better movie.
It would be fucking epic.
And there'll be no Piglet, I'm assuming, in the sequel, because Piglet died in this movie.
But that's the thing I know, right? So how is Pooh immortal and Piglet isn't?
Because bears are better than pigs? I don't know.
That could have been explained to the honey thing. See,
yeah.
honey gives him super strength, but no.
So the other thing that kind of annoyed me about this movie is, like, not only did they go for seriousness, but in doing so they completely missed a lack of suspense. And I think if they were going to go for serious, even if like they went serious, right, it still made a shit movie. But you can see that the movie's clearly like structured correctly and is made correctly, even though it turned out a bit shit. I think that could have been a bit more forgivable as well. But there's such a lack of suspense in this movie. Like they don't. I think if they're gonna do that, they should have hid what Pooh and Piglet looked like for longer.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, it's within about, 2 minutes that there's Pooh and Piglet, and it's kind of just like out of the bag right at the start. And it kills any fucking suspense that they could have even potentially had in this movie.
But it's that bit at the start as well where his missus, right? His missus is walking at the forest with him going, I don't believe you about this, you're speaking shite. And then he's like, oh, well, why are you coming? Because I want to support you. Like, no, you don't support their fucking delusions, you fucking twat. Like,
You know, it's actually so bad that, see, when she was dying, I was actually convinced that that was the movie. Like there was a small part of me that was just like, God, this movie's gone past so fucking quickly. And I was just, and then as the rest of the movie went on, I was just like, I really wish that was just the movie.
Yeah. Like that was the trailer for it. That was it. You know.
Yeah. What do you think of like the whipping scene?
That reminded me of something, and I still can't put my finger on it. It reminds me of something.
I mean, like,
It,
there's been a few different movies with like whipping scenes and.
but it's with the knot. There was something about the knot that stuck in my head, and I don't know why.
Is that not a James Bond one? Is that not?
No, that's the knot on the chair. That's fucking what was that, Turkish torture thing? I think
I
it
can't
was.
remember. Anyways, there's this sort of whole torture scene of Christopher Robin, which again I think would make sense had we gotten any sort of actual plot.
Instead of "you abandoned us."
Yeah. But that's all.
As much.
But that's also where I think we should have had Pooh and Piglet talking as well.
Well, yeah.
Because I think having that in there, because in actual fact, in terms of like an effects wise as well, it's probably one of the better looking scenes. It's probably, I'd say, one of the best scenes in the movie.
There is no best in the movie.
But
like even the throat slash at the end is fucking gosh.
But it's so isolated by the fact that there's no real plot around it that it makes it kind of meaningless. And then you've got the ending there as well, because we assume that Christopher Robin and whichever of the 5 random girls survived to that point. We kind of think that they're going to survive, but Pooh does decapitate her right at the very end, which is very Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. And Christopher Robin ends up. Well, does Christopher Robin survive? We don't really know. There's this kind. We get cold openings, but we get this kind of cold finish, don't we? Where it doesn't really feel like the movie should be over, which is shocking because the previous 1 hour and 19 minutes previous to that, the movie should have been fucking over. But in that final minute, you're like, right, something else needs to happen, and then the movie ends.
Yeah.
So
and it's shite.
It's like this really cold finish that we get, and it's not. I don't know if they're like thinking it's let's leave them wanting more kind of thing because we do not want more.
Yeah,
but
we're getting more, but we do not want it.
Yeah, but that kind of feels like what they were going for, doesn't it?
But that's the other thing at the end, right? He's fucking decapitating her to sort of torture fucking Christopher Robin's, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's doing it for. But while he's like just stabbing her in the heat, Christopher Robins could have been gone about 2 days ago. You know what I mean? He's just like, and it's like about 20 stabs later, Christopher Robin's like, well, see ya.
Well, yeah, but that's what we were saying about like the entire fucking film. The girls in the film, they had multiple opportunities to either do what they were doing much quicker or just fucking escape, and they failed to do so at multiple points. We haven't even bothered talking about many of the kills other than the car scene where she gets her head sort of exploded. Do you want to talk about any of the other kills, or are they just all
sort of touched on the fucking sledgehammer in the swimming pool, but
that's true.
That was just a slowed down shit one. And we discussed those stab you in the head at the end, but it's just fuck me, it's just fucking awful.
Newman says that ending is exactly the moment that they run out of money. So this is like end credits.
and 3p left, 1p left.
They were getting the peps.
Done.
They were getting the peps. You remember you used to get that on your old on the old phone boxes. You used to get the peps. Right, okay. Thankfully, Nico, I think for you anyway, we've run through all of my bullet points that I think we should talk about in this film. I
Yeah,
know there's other bits and pieces about this movie that we could go into discussion. We
we
could
really shouldn't.
we could talk about so much more shit stuff, but I don't think it's really worth it. I think we've I think they've gone for like a bunch of pretty girls because they are pretty girls, and I've just thought, you know what, that's probably going to be enough.
Yeah,
And it really wasn't. The acting's
was
fucking
awful.
horrendous all around. Uh, the costume design for Pooh I don't necessarily mind, even though I don't think it's good. Piglet's fucking awful.
I'm not gonna lie, I quite liked the mask. I did quite like
Are
the
you
mask of
growing on
Pooh,
the
but
mask?
just the mask of Pooh, but everything else was shit. I think they're getting a point just for the mask.
Just a mask of Pooh.
The mask in the premise, that's it.
Okay, right. Nico, is there any other parts of this movie? Don't forget in chat as well. Feel free to pull up any bullet points that you would like us to discuss. But is there anything else you, Nico, can think off the top of your head that you would like to discuss for this movie?
I hate you for fucking making me watch this.
Listen, this is what we do. We've covered a lot of really good films lately, and we've covered a lot of the classics. We've covered a lot of unhidden gems. But one thing we've actually, and we always say, you know what, like we cover quite a lot of bad movies, but we never actually cover a lot of like really bad movies.
Uh, but that's the thing. They knew that this was going to be returning before the budget. Like they were
Did you see
making
the
money
bit
off
at the very end? Sorry to interrupt. Winnie, like the Guardians of the Galaxy bit. Winnie the Pooh will return.
it. Well, yeah. So that's the only other bit I was going to discuss, right? So you saying it made 5 mil, right?
Yeah.
Before it made 5 mil, that was on there. So they knew they were making an hour one already.
Yeah.
Who in their right fucking mind thought, yep, this is going to be so good, it's going to get a return?
Yeah, but if they're spending so little money on it, if someone's it literally could just be like one fucking person who's like, you know what? One really rich person is like, I've got a couple $100,000 to spare.
Is this just some weird fucking rich cunt's fantasy and folk just like it?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming it's the director's fantasy because he wrote them.
True, aye.
And as I said, he doesn't have a sparkling filmography. He's directed 5 movies, with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2 being a sixth. Um, and however, having said that, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is his lowest rated according to IMDb, which I'll get into in a second. Firenado, The Killing Tree, and Alien Abduction is his other movies.
They just sound like straight to video from back in the day, you know what I
I
mean?
mean, essentially they are, to be honest. So, um, Newman says, Nico, the premise was alright, but the execution was total poo. And Anna says in the chat, or they just chanced it and went ahead with number 2.
They just chanced it. They're like, fuck it, we'll put it on there if it's shite, fuck him.
Yeah, they just chanced it. I was going to say Hollywood works, but yeah, this movie's so far removed from Hollywood.
Yeah.
But that's how cinema works.
Fucking dicks,
man. Is that you then, Nico? Anything else you want to discuss?
No. Just no.
Just no? Okay.
Just
Let's
going to know.
move on then, and we'll talk about some trivia. I say we'll talk about some trivia. I've already pretty much already told you all of the trivia, but we'll go over it very briefly once again. According to IMDb, this movie had a budget of $100,000 and grossed worldwide $4.9 million. And again, that does go back to what we were saying before about it being in that sort of Terrifier chat, because if you think of Terrifier 2, that had about a similar budget, but that ended up grossing like 10 million plus.
Yeah.
So financially, this movie was fucking success. I don't quite understand how this made it to theaters.
I know. Like, somebody sucked somebody's dick for this movie to get put in the cinema, I think. That's the only way I can think of it.
Maybe it was like a Fire Festival situation.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, sucking some people's dicks for water.
Uh,
Um,
in a tent that's not been fucking KO'd.
yeah, like, and obviously that's an impressive gross for
Yeah,
this movie. So hats off to them. They've made a load of fucking money.
yeah.
Like, got to give them credit for that.
How so? Oh, hello, Sheila.
As I said earlier, production of the film became
Hey.
possible in 2022 after A.A. Milne's novel Winnie the Pooh, which was released in 1926, entered the public domain in the US, which marked the first appearance of Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Christopher Robin, thus lapsing the characters into the public domain. Thank you. The film's
He was
characters.
just want to comment on it, that's all.
The film's characters, however, could not resemble the Disney versions because they did not debut until 1966 and are still protected by copyright. Tigger was originally going to be in this film, but he wasn't shown due to copyright of Disney. There has been rumours that Tigger's going to be a number 2, but I don't see how. If he's still copyrighted, Disney ain't giving them fucking permission to do this.
Is Tigger still copyrighted or is he public domain yet?
I mean, it depends when his first appearance was. So, because obviously, the original novel was just the first appearances of Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, and Christopher Robin. So that's all they could show. However, they did talk about Eeyore and Owl in this movie.
Yeah.
But they didn't mention Tigger in this film.
So I'm guessing they would have got away with mentioning them.
So I think they maybe could just mention them. But I don't know if Tigger's
or maybe they didn't have the budget for the masks.
I don't know, but maybe that's if Tigger is going to be in the sequel, then maybe he's just like the replacement for Piglet, and it's going to be Pooh and Tigger instead of Pooh and Piglet.
Maybe.
But
then what about Owl and fucking Rabbit?
Well, they didn't mention Rabbit in this movie.
They did.
No, they just mentioned Owl and Eeyore.
You sure?
Yeah, I think so. Regardless, like, it doesn't really matter. Fine. Actually, you know what? I take it back. 'Cause here's my last piece of credit. Owl and Rabbit can actually be seen on the top right of the screen when Pooh and Piglet are dragging Christopher Robin away.
Oh, really?
I'm assuming it's just like a very minuscule thing in the background that's so discernible that they can't be like sued for copyright because you can't sue someone for just having an owl in your movie.
Are they copyrighted? So that's the question.
Well, like I say, it depends on when their first appearance was in the books.
Yeah.
Because 1926 was Winnie the Pooh, Christopher Robin, and Piglet's first appearances, which is, I'm assuming, why there are 3 main characters here. So it just depends when their first appearances were in the books. If their first appearance, because what is it? It's I can't remember how many years after. Is it after the author's death? That
I genuinely can't remember how
that it
any
becomes.
of that shit works.
I think it's a certain number of years after the author's death they become public domain. So if Tigger, Eeyore, and the rest of the gang, they appeared maybe in another further Winnie the Pooh book that maybe came out a year later, then they theoretically could be public domain next year. But if they weren't for like many years down the line, then they wouldn't be.
So it'd be like public domain kicking it to you, man.
Yeah. So maybe they'll be public domain in time for Winnie the Pooh 3. Which we'll definitely be reviewing on the show. Do you think?
Yeah.
This is the question now. This is the question I want to put to you now. Winnie the Pooh, regardless of how you feel about the movie, was a financial success and a very, very big one at that. Do you think 2 will replicate that?
Depends what they do with it, because by the sound of it, it's got a cult following.
Well, not according to the ratings. Well, actually, you know what? I'll take that back, maybe. But do you think 2, like, because Terrifier 2, for example, was far more successful than Terrifier 1 was.
Yeah.
Do you think 2 potentially has, and then therefore do we get a Winnie the Pooh 3? Does this become a whole franchise?
That's the thing. If you can get a second movie better than your first one, it's a stable for fucking future endeavors, basically.
Well, the movie made 50 times its budget. Do they have a bigger budget for 2?
That's the thing.
Can they make a better movie if they have, say, I don't know, 500,000 budget instead of 100,000?
Fuck, give them a mill and see what they do.
I've got you interested now. That's it. We're gonna have to do number 2.
I want to see Tigger.
We're totally going to be reviewing number 2, aren't we?
Yeah, you started this, you can.
Well, that's going to be out next year. It's slated for a 2024 release. So, needless to say, Nico, because we're actually coming up to that. We're now just 2 weeks away from the nominations for our end of year awards opening. Do you think Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey will be getting any nominations for any of our awards?
Do we have for worst movie ever?
No.
Then no.
No? Do you not think it could be going down there for best lead performer? Best performer in a pig mask? I don't even think it would win that.
No, I was about to say.
Anyways.
Fucking awful.
And that's all I've got for trivia, Nico. Do you have any other pieces of trivia?
Just never ever watch this.
That's not trivia, that's advice. Save it for your fucking review.
No, I'm saying that all I can now.
Okay.
It's just
right.
It's awful.
With that being said, then let's move on to our final segment, which is our ratings and our reviews. We'll start off, as we always do, with the critics. According the critics' ratings, IMDb have this movie rated at a 2.9 out of 10. Metacritic, have this at a 1.6 out of 10. Nico, what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes critics and the Rotten Tomatoes audience, because it has both, what do you think they scored this movie?
I'm hoping it's going to be low on both. I'm hoping it's like fucking 18 and 19.
So, the Rotten Tomatoes critics have this at 3%.
That's alright. I thought you were going to say 30 there. I was like,
Hold your fucking horses, Nico, because the Rotten Tomatoes audience has this at 50%.
what is wrong with you?
50%, Nico.
How?
Like, I should have actually done this before we came on air, but let me tell you some of the movies, right, that this has a higher Rotten Tomatoes critics audience score than. This has a higher Rotten Tomatoes score than Child's Play 2.
Nope.
Which is, I think, possibly the best in the Child's Play franchise. It has a higher Rotten Tomatoes audience score than The Strangers.
Nope.
Than Horns.
Nope.
Than Critters.
Nope.
Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse.
Definitely nope.
Deep Blue Sea.
That is also quite shit, but nope.
Scary Movie. House of Wax, the remake, which I think is, pretty fucking decent. The Child's Play remake has a higher score, though. But look, you're not telling me any of those movies are worse than this movie.
No.
In terms of the critics, only Lost Boys the Tribe has a lower critic score than this, because that got a 0. Attack of the Herbals didn't get a critic score, and neither did the special. I'm
not gonna lie, I would rather watch Pooh over fucking.
You'd rather look at Pooh?
Lost Boys, than this movie. But I would rather watch this movie rather than Lost Boys the Tribes and Attack of the Herbals, that's for sure.
I'd rather watch
fucking Trolls 2.
I'd rather watch Winnie the Pooh over those movies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you. Newman also says, correct, Chucky 2 is the best. So, Anyways, as always, we throw it out to you guys, our audience, our listeners, our viewers, and ask for your scores. Oh, actually, you know what? Before I do that, the critics' consensus of the movie simply says, "Oh, bother."
Oh, bother.
Well, that's Pooh's catchphrase, isn't it?
Oh.
The audience.
This movie hurt my soul. It's left a scar on my soul.
Yeah,
not in a good way.
The audience says Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey had its moments, but they aren't enough to make up for the weak plot, uneven acting, and general lack of real horror or humour. But we'll still give it 50%. As I said, as always, we throw it out to you guys, our followers, viewers, and listeners, and asking for your scores and opinions on the movies that we cover. We read just a few of them out on the show. It's we've got a few different varieties here. So, Podcast in the Woods, Boomer, who was floating about earlier, I think he's still lurking away, says, I didn't hate it.
Why?
It was a decent time at the cinema, but I'm not really rushing to watch it again. 5 out of 10.
Boomer.
Dewey Podmonster says 3 out of 10. We were subjected to a whole episode covering this film. I wonder what that feels like, Nico. Nicest way to say it is that this was not how we would approach a Winnie the Pooh horror film. Newman from the Movies for Days podcast gives it a 1 out of 10. This dreck gives a bad name to all low-budget midnight trash. Promises big dumb fun and delivers a lazy, uninteresting slog that never shows any creativity or drive. Ugly as sin, start to finish. I want to hang this movie from the tallest tree in the 100-acre wood and set it ablaze.
I understand that. Quite literally understand that.
Yeah. Wren, friend of the show, former guest of the show, Wren. For what was to be the next entry into the ultra slasher category, there wasn't much ultra about it other than how bad it was. The costume designs were horrendous, and the choice to go serious with this silly concept made it laughable, not in a good way. Absolute trash, 2 out of 10. He then added, no novel today, boys. The less I have to think about this movie, the better.
That's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel.
The Dissect That Film podcast also gives it a 5 out of 10. It was ridiculous, but I had a good time with it, especially seeing it in the theatre. It's not something I ever planned to see again, though. And finally,
it sounds like the folk that watched it in a cinema enjoyed it.
Yeah, it does.
But I think that's because it's an American cinema, and they would have been taking the piss out of it with
whooping and a hollering.
Yeah, because that doesn't happen over here.
Giving it the whoop whoop. Giving it the beep beeps.
You don't have a throw.
And finally, the Horror of Babylon podcast gives it a 4.5 out of 10. The movie needed to have more fun with itself. It took itself too seriously considering the concept it was working with. I hope the sequel has more creative kills and leads into the absurdity. Enjoyed the soundtrack and the energy of some of the actors. I think that's...
what energy?
I enjoyed the energy of some of the actors. I think that's what that is.
Enjoyed the body shapes. That's what they enjoyed.
I think so. There was someone, they didn't leave a review, but there was someone who responded to this and gave it a 7 out of 10.
There's a reason they didn't leave their name.
So, anyways, all of our listener scores means that the listeners gave an average score to this movie, wait for it, of 3.9 out of 10.
That's way too high.
So, Nico, that just leaves me and you. And on a scale of 0 to 10, what would you rate Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey?
I'll give it a 2, and I'm giving it 2 for 2 reasons. I like the mask a little bit. No, the tits have got fuck all to do with, though they were nice. Point blank, it's a great idea.
Can I just point? Do you automatically add a point to a movie if you see tits?
No.
Okay. I definitely...
Do you?
No.
Why would I then?
Don't know, just asking. I know people who do.
Oh great, there's a tit. There's 2 tits. It's not like a tick list.
I'm just asking. I'm asking a question. Anyway, carry on.
It's not a tit list, mate. Come on.
Just carry on.
So yes, I'm giving it a point for because I sort of like the mask. It's growed on me a little bit. And the fucking the bit at the start, if they'd made a movie just about that bit at the start, it would have been better than this crock of shit. Like, I want to see them starving. I want to see them in a cave going through fucking hell. You know what I mean? I want to see a prequel to this.
Well, okay. So
5 years before.
I'm in a very similar vein to you, but I think it's pretty obvious throughout this that I'm possibly ever just such a smidge higher on this than you are.
You are, yes. You can
so
tell.
I'm gonna give it a 3.
I'm disappointed in you.
But I'm giving it for very similar reasons. I really like the opening to this movie. I didn't want that animation all the way through, but I really feel like if they gave us like a gritty movie like we were maybe going to be expecting from that opening, which is going along with what you're saying there, you want to see them sort of like starving in the caves, and you want to see them like properly like having to hunt for their food and do all sort of that, then I think I could have been a lot more on board with that. The premise is definitely very interesting. I do actually don't mind like at least one of the kills. I quite like the whipping scene, except everything else that's going on around it kind of makes it a bit weak and pointless. So there are small aspects of this movie that I'm like, oh, like you're getting there, you're kind of on the right tracks, but there's so much of this movie that's just fucking horrendous.
See, if they'd done it, they were hunting for food, and then they came across somebody that was injured or something, and they tasted human flesh.
Yeah.
Then that would have been a better movie than this.
Rather than
shit, you know what I mean?
ate Eeyore, so we're gonna kill and eat humans.
We killed our friend because we were too lazy to go further than the 100-acre wood.
Yeah. Anyways. All of our scores combined with the critics' scores gives Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey an average score of 2.7 out of 10 and means it's in 81st place of the now 84 movies that we have covered on the show, one place above Attack of the Herbals and one place below Long Time Dead. It is So it is above, it's fourth from bottom, above Troll 2, above Lost Boys the Tribe, above Attack of the Herbals, and those are the three movies that you said you would rather watch Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey over.
Yeah.
So, right in the right place then?
That works, yeah. What's above it again?
Long Time Dead.
Yeah, I'd rather watch Long Time Dead than Winnie the Pooh.
Well, yeah, and like obviously, when you're in this, if you're looking at like the top 50 of our leaderboard, like there's sometimes maybe 20 movies that are separated by like half a point because it gets really congested. But when you get down to the bottom, there's a bigger gap in between the movies. So Troll 2 at the bottom has a 1.7, Lost Boys the Tribe has a 1.9, Attack of the Herbals has a 2.2, Winnie the Pooh has a 2.7, and then it jumps up to Long Time Dead with a 3.8. So it is it has been like there is a gap in there for other movies. And just on a note that Newman's just made as well, for those of you who have been absolutely chastising us and berating us over the past number of months, it's finally the movie that knocks Halloween 3 out of the bottom 5. So Halloween 3 is no longer a Pod of the Damned bottom 5 movie.
Still bottom 10th though.
It's 6th from bottom, yeah, but it is out of our bottom 5, so there you go to all you Halloween 3 fans. I did decide to bring back the shit show for this episode because I thought surely people would have some wild and crazy things to say on Letterboxd about this movie. There wasn't a huge amount, actually. It was actually relatively boring. A couple of maybe interesting things to say. One person simply said, kinkiest shit I've ever seen. They must lead a really boring sex life.
Yeah.
So.
Unless they're fucking being whipped by a knot on a fucking rope.
I have a question for you, Nico.
Yes.
Winnie the Pooh.
Yes.
Is his name Winnie or Pooh?
Well, he introduced himself as Winnie the Pooh.
So is it just like Winnie the Pooh, one long name?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways,
I think because he was a kid, he broke it down into Winnie the Pooh.
Okay.
So
this person just says Winnie carrying a whole dump truck in the back.
Oh. Even this isn't entertaining me because the film was that bad, and I love this bit.
This was painful. The type of pain that makes you want to be anywhere but in your own body. The lowest of lows. Impressively bad. I loved it.
Not impressively bad. It was just fucking bad.
This is on a point that we made earlier. Why eat the donkey when they got a big old pork sausage in the group? And that's coming from a vegetarian.
Rabbit? Fucking... I'd be going for that fucker. In fact, here's the thing as well. I just thought about it, right? When they go onto the wee camp they've got, that wee bit the walkthrough is made out of deer antlers, right? How much fucking deer did they go through if they fucking eat Eeyore?
Question.
They're fat bastards.
Question. Why do they live in caravans?
I know.
I actually forgot to mention that they live in these like sort of they've made this like wee little village for themselves, haven't they?
Yeah.
Anyways,
They needed space to protect
yeah.
themselves in case they were gonna get eaten.
The final part of the shit show. Imagine how much more messed up it would have been if Pooh did all of that whilst wearing a crop top and no pants.
That would have been hysterical.
Imagine. I think this. If the, like that would have been so perfect for the like funny factor of this movie if he was just Pooh bearing it the entire time.
If he was just rock out with the cock out,
Yeah,
it was just it would be like
that should have
that
happened.
shot from down below where he looks like a fucking giant. That would just be a massive dong.
And it would actually go dong.
If somebody runs towards him, flips it with it. Bong.
Yeah, some like the boy's face comes off just because he's been hit with the shaft.
Not the bell end. Razor sharp bell end.
Oh dear. Anyways, right.
Feel this head, you cunt.
Anyways, I think Nico that's gonna have to do us.
Thank fuck.
Hold on. Theory, Anna's got a theory. Maybe they killed the people that went into the forest in their caravans and stole them.
Well, yeah, but still.
Yeah.
Why take them back to the house that they hid?
Ah. Anyways, yes, Nico, thankfully, that is going to do it for this week's show.
Hallelujah, see you, bye.
No, you stay, get back here. We're not done yet. As I've said earlier, Nico, you're not going to be here next week. Anna will be joining us on the show next week, and we are going to be talking all about The Woman in Black.
That's a very interesting movie.
So Nico, if you could text me your score for that movie at some point.
Okay.
So that I can add you in for that.
I can give you live what I think of the movie. It's very fucking boring.
Go for it. Oh, was that
very fucking boring.
Oh, was that
yeah,
it? Okay.
Very fucking boring.
Well, that's what me and Anna will be talking about next week. That was her choice of movie. I didn't pick it. That I gave her an option to go pick our movies, and she decided that we're going to cover The Woman in Black. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. Thankfully, Nico, until the sequel comes out, we'll never have to talk. Actually, I say we'll never have to talk about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey again. But I'm sure it will get some sort of honourable mention at our end of year awards.
Oh, why?
I hope you're getting your nominations and your picks for all of our categories. Started to think about that. There's still quite a lot of movies, in fairness, to come out this year, though. That I think might be up for awards. Obviously, we haven't quite hit Halloween yet. We're still a bit of ways away from that. But even just in a couple of weeks, we've got Saw 10 coming out, and I think people are quite excited about that.
I'm a little excited for it too.
Yeah, I'm always excited for a Saw movie. But there's a couple of other movies. We've got the Exorcist reboot that's coming out, or recall that's coming out. There's a couple other. I think there's is there not another Salem's Lot coming out this year?
It's a Salem's Lot, is
it? Excuse me. Yeah, I think so. So there's still quite a lot to come out this year. It's been an interesting year for horror. I don't know if it's going to be so clear cut for some of the awards as our last couple of years have been. Last year, X just like wiped the floor, and the year before it was TV that wiped the floor the year before because it was Midnight Mass and Squid Game that took most of our awards. I'm not sure if it's going to be quite clear cut. I think I know who's going to be the front runner for the best movie category. Personally,
I think Pearl might be in there.
Pearl wasn't this year.
Oh, it was last year, was it? Shit.
So no, it won't be. Personally, and
I thought it was this year.
And it's not. This might not necessarily be my opinion. It's just the one I think people are going to vote for the most. I think Evil Dead Rise is going to be the front runner this year.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of other movies out there that could sort of split the votes down a wee bit. So I wouldn't be overly shocked if I saw something get the better of it in one of the rounds.
I'm actually surprised at how much folk were hating on fucking Evil Dead Rise.
That's what I'm saying. So, I think it possibly will be our frontrunner when it comes to nominations, but when it comes to actual voting, I could see a situation where it could come up against another movie that could beat it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That was the one I enjoyed this year.
Yeah. Anyways, like I say, Feel free, though, to keep an eye out on our social medias on X at Damned Podcast. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Pod of the Damned. You can email us at podofthedamned@gmail.com, and you can subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/Pod of the Damned. That was fucking spot on. Booyah. As I said, we'll be posting out things for our end of year awards over the course of the next couple of weeks. The nominations for that will be beginning to open. The nominations are open for the entire month of October, and during that month, everything that gets released in October will also be eligible for nomination as well. As always, because we have to do the overlap, things that were released in December and November of 2022 are also eligible. So it goes from November 22 to October 23. I still don't think Pearl qualifies under that, but I would need to probably go and double check it and see if it is. So keep an eye out for that. We've got lots more happening across our social medias. Next week, the live episode, I think, will be taking place on Tuesday rather than the weekend. So keep an eye out on our socials as well for the release time for that and all the other posts and shit that we've got going on our social media. So, until then, Nico, thank you very much for joining me once again.
Thanks for having me on, and you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you fucking watch this movie, because it's awful.
Oh, good. I thought you were just, like, outroing us there, because I was like, I'm not finished.
Nah, I was just trying to get that in there, just to annoy you.
To everyone who's joined us live in the chat room, thank you so much, Newman, Anna, Boomer, everyone else who's been lurking away. Thank you so much for your thoughts and opinions. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you're listening to this on the podcast and you would like to join us for future episodes live and have your opportunity to put your opinions in the chat, you can do so. Twitch.tv/Pod of the Damned. As I said, I think our next live episode is going to be on Tuesday, so please do tune us in for that. Thank you once again to Nico for joining us. Thank you to everyone for listening to this episode. And until next week on the Pod of the Damned, just remember, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.